Hello and welcome back to the Stitchwitch podcast. I'm your host Ourielle. It's been a while since I have come to you with a standard podcast episode, but we are back. Also, I updated my iMovie because my computer got a new OS upgrade and it deleted all of the footage that I had in the application itself. So there was definitely a podcast episode that got lost somewhere in the middle and I don't know what was in it and when I did that thing. So the only thing I can do now at this point is to go off of whatever was my last upload. So there could be some things that I haven't mentioned. There could be things that I would have liked to have footage of that I don't anymore. And where applicable, I will insert just regular photos, but I do also purge my digital footprint pretty often. So that kind of sucks. But I did do a lot of knitting in the last, month or so since we've had contact. I also got a hime cut and I got a lip piercing. So a lot can change in a month. But when we get into the podcast, I will skip over a bunch of stuff that I didn't have any updates for, and then we'll jump into some of the juicy things. Okay, so in terms of previous podcast, picking up from there, I didn't work on most of the stuff that I mentioned in that video. So things that have been on stalemate for a long-term / undetermined amount of time. My Amy sweater, my Grayling sweater, my Zadie Snuggle Hood, my cardigan number 9, and my pressed flowers cowl. Those are all projects that I haven't touched. I am aware of them, which is why I keep mentioning them, and I know this is tedious and no one really cares, but for me, if I don't have it mentioned in the podcast, I really only refresh my memory with the most recent podcast, so if I don't have it mentioned anywhere there, then I will forget that I have it, and that's also why I do, it's part of why I do these podcasts, is so I know what I'm doing, and also why I have to take notes, because otherwise, it's out of sight, out of mind, so I have really serious object permanence issues and my whip closet is a little bit of a scary mess and I'm scared to go in there, so that's that. I did make a teeny tiny bit of progress on my Bluebird cardigan. I don't really want to call this a whip because I just I don't even know if it counts, but I bound off. I finished the ribbing and I bound off on the last sleeve. So from here we can talk about what's next. I just need to steek this, but the reason why this is also going in my long-term whip basket is because to steek this, I have been recommended to use the sewing machine, and I want to do that over something like a crochet reinforcement band because I messed up the first few stitches, the first few tacks of my, 7 stitch, steeking section in the middle, which sucks because the rest of it was fine. And I really, I got the hang of it rather quickly, but there's just something that I messed up about the steeking in the middle. So I do actually want to go in with a sewing machine. My sewing machine is kind of out of commission for the moment. So yeah, this is also going in long-term whip. Also, it's like a freaking double-stranded colorwork yoke sweater, so there's no way I'm going to wear this anytime soon. It's very, very heavy. Okay, let's talk about my finished objects. I don't have a lot of them because they are either gifts or they went to my cubicle at work, so I don't have them with me, but I should have photos. Yeah, so, but they were all stash projects, which is amazing. Well, not all of them, but 99% of them. I made 2 Ribka pouches by Rat and Sea Witch. This is the really, really adorable fish-shaped pouch object. You can make it just as a little keychain and super, super tiny. I made mine large for a friend and his father. They are sunglass cases, so I thought that was really cute. I wish I had access to this, but I don't. It is in the car, and the car is being occupied right now, but he engineered with his father a plying device for my electric eel, and I could not be more grateful. It seemed like it took a lot of special order parts. They ordered a bunch of parts and then they had to use welding tools and stuff to solder them together or whatever, and it was a labor of love, father-son labor of love. I could not be more ecstatic and more grateful. So I made them little fish pouches. They are fishers. So fishermen, they fish. They are fishing people. So I thought it'd be cute because they worked on the project together to get them a matching set of pouches. I will post the picture up here. It was made with some really, really special stash yarn. So the base green is a KNC Superwash Merino from KNC. Did I say that right? It's a KNC Superwash Merino, and I think it's called the Luxe Merino or the Super Luxe Merino, something like that, something along those lines. And it is this beautiful, dingy, foresty green, and it looks slightly distressed already, but it's very, very, it's cool, it's elegant in a way. It's the same one I'm using for my pressed flowers cowl, and I've mixed it with I don't know the name of it because this was a 2-year-old yarn at this point, but it's from the Shirsty Cat, and it was my first indie purchase. It was a batch of yarns that I got during Rhinebeck my first year, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't understand yardages super well, and I didn't know how to like estimate how much I needed, and I didn't have a concept of like what is what. But I finally got a chance to use it. I held those Surreys double, and then the one single strand of the KNC alpaca, and I think it came out like so beautiful, so fishy, like the most fishiest color ever. And then I just used some buttons that were in my stash. So that was a pretty successful project. I made 2 of them over the course of 2 days, and so even though you're working 4 individual pieces and seaming them up, and that's not super fun, the actual project itself is quite simple, and at this point I've probably memorized it because it's not complicated, and it was fun. I do like the project. I might make more in the future. It's one of those things where, because you're making 2 pieces and then I made a pair, I don't want to make more immediately, but I could see myself wanting to make more, just to like use stuff out of my stash and to like give people little fish pouches. It's very cute. I liked it a lot. I also made 2 storyteller shawls. Now these are full size like blanket shawls, like, so I don't know, like 70-inch wingspan. It goes like super deep, super long. This is a 2 of Wands slash Lion Brand collaboration pattern. I originally made it because I loved the idea of a book club shawl, and it's called the Genres Make Along. Like, that project was called the Genres Make Along. I am a reader. I am the organizer of a book club. I liked the idea of having it, and she came up with, I think, like 32 color schemes or something like absurd, like a lot of different colorways for her collaboration yarn, which is the, oh my god, I'm not remembering the name of the yarn at this point. Hue and Me, I think, is the name of the yarn from Lion Brand. And so she came up with this super nice modular color palette system. They're all supposed to be drawn from different genres. My favorite one was the, I think, sci-fi genre. It was a bunch of moody neutrals like black, gray, white, and then neon acid green, and I thought that was so sick. I really wanted to do it, but for whatever reason, my mind was really called towards like a dark vampy set, because, I like the dark vampy colors, and so I went to build my bundle, and I was originally going to do the, I think, romantasy or romance or dark fantasy genre, which is like pink roses, cream, and then black. And I was going to do all black with pops of pink roses and cream, because I think that's pretty much like most of the colors that I enjoy. It's like mostly black and then pink, cream, lilac, pastels. That kind of thing is like very up my alley. However, when I went to go check out, I freaked out and I thought, oh my god, you can't see the stitch pattern in black. Let me make it in the dark plum as my main color. I got it in, and I didn't really love the way it ended up working out. So, being that I already bought the kit and it was a pretty fun project to do, I finished it. And then I thought, oh, like, this is perfect for, my friend. And I decided to, like, give her that shawl, like, halfway through my, construction of it. Now, granted, the shawl goes up to, like, 300 something stitches. So, like, it was a long time between when I started and when I decided to gift the shawl that I was still, like, hemming and hawing about whether I wanted to keep it or not. But I just figure, like, I know I personally don't love a triangle shawl. Like, I made one last year, and I think this one has more drape, so it's a little bit more cozy, and the size is much more comfortable. Like, it's a huge shawl, like you can properly wear it as a blanket, and I think that also contributes to like how enjoyable it is. However, there was something about the colors I didn't love, and so when she said that she liked the color scheme and she thought it was beautiful, I was more than happy to finish it up for her, except for the part where I had to weave in like 70 ends. It was like very painful. And I had to make a million tassels. It was the ending part of that shawl was like a 2 out of 10 experience. I don't recommend it. But the shawl itself was beautiful. It knit up really quick. I did it on 8mm needles because it's kind of like a chunky yarn. And then her husband was like, I love the shawl. I'm super jealous that you're giving this to her. Like, I really want one, but it's fine. Like, you said you were gonna give it to her. Like, she's gonna like it, but I'm definitely gonna steal it. And I really want it, but it's fine. It's fine. It's like, I'm happy that she's getting it. I was like, okay, I'll make you one too. So I went through my stash, and I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to use up some more stash. I have more yarn than I know what to do with, and one of the major goals that I had early on in this year was to make sure that a lot of the yarn that I acquire, or a lot of the yarn that is already sitting in my stash, doesn't stay in my house, just because I physically cannot keep this much yarn in my house. So I thought about doing charity knitting, gift knitting, like that kind of thing, and one can always dream of more knitting than you can do. So when I had the opportunity in my hand and I just finished the pattern and it was still relatively fresh in my mind and I had memorized the repeats, I immediately cast on a second one. So this one has gone kind of off the rails. I'm not using any of her color scheme color palettes. I asked for a photo of his closet, and I kind of came up with a color scheme that I think worked well with what was in his closet already, and also what would match his wife's, and also given the quantities of yarn that I had in my stash. And I'm actually really proud of this one as well. I'm going to put the photos up here. I think it looks really sick. I would argue that this one looks better than the first one, mostly because I just didn't love the color scheme of the first one. This was totally my bad. I think this is what happens when you order yarn online and you don't like play with it in person. Because when I am in my yarn stash and I can really like touch the balls of yarn and like move them together and play around with the different ratios of colors, it's a lot easier for me to make a choice. So I'm much more pleased with this version than the other one. I love the pop of color. The teal is so nice, and I held almost everything double to get that like bulky gauge. And I think I was working with like somewhere between DK weight and worsted weight yarns held double. So some sections are airier than others, some sections are, you know, more dense, and I think I was very careful about texture as well. So some sections have boucle, some sections have more of like a blown chainette style, some of them are tightly twisted, and I think that kind of adds to the drape and, you know, kind of the fun variation between all the different stitch sections. And of course, this one is 100% wool, so I am definitely partial to his version of the shawl. And we've gotten to a point where it's so fun and easy to make that I'm like, do I make my husband and I like matching versions of this? And then like we go hang out at their house and like we all have our matching shawls, and like it'll be really kooky and crazy. And if I do that, I might actually make my version that's black, gray, white, and like acid green. I think that would be fun. And I have all those colors in my stash, so it's definitely a contender, like a real thing that I might consider. But yeah, in terms of what I actually used, it was a big hodgepodge of stuff. The biggest main thing was that I used a lot of drops Lima, and I used 2 strands of that held double throughout in like the petrol green / teal color. I thought that was really pretty. I think it looks nice, and it feels really lovely. So it's not soft, or it's not scratchy at all. It's extremely soft because I held it double. It has a lot of drape and movement. I also held it with Cancy Cloud Paca throughout. So I have Cancy Cloud Paca in the burgundy reddish color, which matches his wife's version. I have the Cancy white and then the Cancy black. And the white and black I held double with a white and black from Patons. Those are just like the classic wool worsted. And that got me the gauge that I kind of wanted. And then for the last stripe, I did a combination of cream and gray yarn. The boucle cream was some random farm yarn that I got early on in my knitting, and I don't remember actually like where I got it or who I got it from or anything like that. I just know that I have a small scrap ball of that stuff. And then the gray is also drops Lima. So yeah, just use a couple of colors together. And the beige is the Lion brand local wool. I don't know what color it is. It's like a sandy color. There's only like one rosy sand beige color, and that one I just held double on its own, so that was doubled up on itself. And yeah, the whole thing actually ended up using close to like 700 grams of yarn, so both of them together ended up using close to 1400 grams of yarn, which was amazing, and actually probably more, because, you know, when I do the tassels and like the binding off and everything, you're adding like, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches of tail to like leave room for weaving. So in reality, it's give or take. Like the final projects themselves weighed that much, but like who knows the rest of it. I am pretty proud. I'm pretty proud of the turnaround time, because I think the first one took me a while to make because I wasn't really feeling it. But once I realized that I had a recipient who was going to enjoy the product, I kind of sped up. So it took me probably 2 to 3 weeks to finish the first one, but then the second one only took me 1 week to finish from beginning to end, and I knit pretty monogamously on it. It flew off the needles. It's a really easy repeat. Triangle shawls, I love the construction of because they're pretty easy. It's just not necessarily always the look that I like. But I was really happy with what this came out to be. And then I have a finished project that is a blanket. So I finished a 6-day star blanket. Again, I don't have it with me because I brought it to work, but it was a scrap blanket that worked up 1600 grams of yarn. So we're looking really good in terms of using up stash yarn. 1600 grams of yarn, and a lot of it was just mohair, so that's at minimum 16 balls of 100 gram hanks of yarn. I don't know what that yardage is going to be, but generally I'm like very happy with the quantity of yarn that I used up. It was actually inspired by one of my favorite tarot decks, the Star Spinner Tarot. This is a deck that the cover art at least is primarily, it's very air essence, you know, like very pastel, very iridescent. It's yellows, pinks, purples, and like a little bit of dark blue. And I love that idea. And I also love the idea of it matching my cubicle, because my cubicle is like a rainbow vomited in there, like pastel rainbow. It matches perfectly. I wanted to use up a lot of scrap quantity. I wanted to use up a lot of single skeins. I wanted it to have somewhat of a consistent color scheme, but mostly like be whimsical and fun. And the granny stitch is just something that I love doing when I want something to fidget with, but I don't actually want to think too hard. I think at this point I was getting really burnt out with a lot of my other projects, and I still feel a little burnt out with some of those projects, but it was a really good distraction for me because I got to play with color and texture, and again, I love that like scrappy, mixy look. It's great. It's an amazing blanket. I have been using it either as like a little rest on the back, or I actually wear it as a blanket or as a cushion, or when people come into my cube, some of them like want to, you know, like cuddle up in it. It's very fun. It's very cute. I have no notes. The only thing that I will say is I don't think I'll make another star-shaped blanket. They're just a little cumbersome. I think they're cuter as like a project to hold up than like an actual thing to use, because it doesn't fold nicely, it doesn't drape nicely. I think even like a round blanket might be easier, like if you just do a mandala shaped blanket. Somehow I think that would work better, because the way that the star hangs, it doesn't hang evenly, right? Because the tension points are spread throughout, but then like when you hang it, I don't know, it droops in a very particular shape. So I like the idea of it. I think it looks really cute. I don't think it's super practical, and it's hard to fold, and it looks a little messy sometimes. And I think that is the one thing that I regret, because I have so much texture and so much color in there. And I did follow like a A, B, A, C, A, D, A, E kind of rule. Like I tried to keep one color consistent all the way throughout. But again, I just don't think I would have redone it in the same exact way. And I don't regret it, because I love how much yarn I used up. I love the finished effect, and I think the balance of texture and color is really good, and it was really pleasurable to do, and it was, you know, fun to knit on while I was watching Bob's Burgers or like going to book club or whatever. But yeah, it's just a teensy bit messy. The pattern I used is called the 6-Day Granny Starburst Blanket, I believe. I will put the link down below. It was a crochet pattern that I made like years and years ago, but I still have it on my computer, so, you know, here we are, and I wanted to make another one. Okay, I have one UFO, which is very sad, but that was my Josie hood. I used up 4 balls of my Lion Brand Landscape Renewed, which is crazy because it's like a 250 gram ball of yarn. And then I realized something was wrong with my Josie hood. Like the shape was just like way too big, way too long. I don't know if it's because the acrylic yarn just kind of sagged on its own weight and the garter was so dense that it kind of it became misshapen. I don't know if it's because I read the pattern wrong. I don't know if it's because my heart wasn't in it and I just like didn't really want to finish, and so it wasn't worth like figuring it out. But I scrapped that project. One, the yarn was not really working, and I recognized that even way back when I first started making the top part of the hood. It just pilled like crazy. And it only got worse and worse, obviously, like with more and more construction. And it snagged, and it just was like, it was fine in the moment, but I think this is the thing where I think synthetic yarns are fine in the moment, but then when I use a natural yarn, it just feels so much better, especially an animal yarn. Yeah, so when I started knitting with wool and making hats and making these shawls, I really didn't want to go back to the Josie hood because 1, it wasn't coming out the way that it was supposed to, and 2, the shape was coming out to be strange. 3, I hated the texture of the yarn, and then 4, it was already pilling and like looking really, really gross. The top part where I started had already really started to look quite disheveled, and I just, like, life is too short to like, I was only halfway through basically because I have to do the rest of the tail end and then all I-cord, and it was a lot of knitting, and I just didn't really like the product, and I didn't really think the yarn was that precious, and so I called it quits, and I turned it into a little cushion for my cat, and he loves it. He's sitting on it right now, and you know, it's better him than me because I am not going to use it, and it's like not a particularly expensive yarn anyway. I bought it for Black Friday. I knew it was going to be kind of a I bought it for the color, right? Because I thought it was cute and it was in front of me and it was accessible and it was on sale and it was cheap. So I bought a bunch of it, and I, you know, I am glad that I tried it on an accessory that was relatively low stakes as opposed to putting it in a garment that required shaping and thinking and like maybe a little bit more emotional investment and then giving up. That's always so sad to me, you know, like giving up on a garment. And that happens. So like, long story short, I'm actually glad that it happened this way, but yeah, that was like a month of knitting that was gone because the Josie hood requires a lot of knitting. It's like a simple project because it's just garter with a little bit of shaping, but it requires counting of your rows and it requires so much knitting, like, and the knitting increases, right? Because it's a triangle that gets bigger and bigger. So every time you add a section, it just gets like longer and longer with more knitting and more knitting. And I had to buy new cables to make it. So long story short, I'm happy that we've ditched that project, but that is my UFO and that is my shame and my burden to carry. Okay, I have a lot of significant progress on my single malt sweater. Now, one of the things that I guess I lost the footage of was the mention of my conversion from the Ester sweater man to the single malt sweater. from Maxim Cyr. This is the sweater that I was supposed to make for my husband for Valentine's Day, and I never finished it at the time because I was a selfish knitter, and I still haven't finished it because I'm still a selfish knitter. And also, the thing about your husband is that he's always the last, you know? Like, I made those 2 shawls for my friends. That happened within like 3 weeks. And this one has been sitting here for like a month and I haven't like touched it until yesterday. I had good reason for that. One is that I was reaching a point where I had to count my stitches and like actually pay attention. Like, it's a textured knit, but there was a point where I actually had to like pay attention, and I didn't want to do any of that at the moment. I just like wasn't having it. Like, I'm really in the mood for like easy knitting. I think that's like a summer thing. I don't know what's going on, but like I don't want to do anything difficult. So every time I tried to pick up the sweater to knit it, I was like, oh shit, I have to do like this keeping track thing and I don't want to do it. And there's something about the way that he's written this pattern that I don't have any problems with it. Like, I don't think it's like, it's a really well written pattern. It's easy. It's like a top-down raglan sweater, so there's nothing really that hard about it. It's just that I don't like the way that he wrote some of the things. Again, like, there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't think if I were to write this pattern, I would have phrased it in a slightly different way. And I think just that tiny, minute difference is enough of a deterrent for me to like not want to pick it up when I'm not in the mood to do something difficult. So it sat for arguably a lot longer than I would have liked it to. But anyway, this is the Maxim Cyr single malt sweater. It doesn't look like anything right now. It just kind of looks like the top parts of a sweater. Kind of disappointing, but it's cute. I based this off of a sweater that a friend was wearing, and he came over for dinner, and I was like, oh my god, where did you get that sweater? And he was like, I got this sweater at Zara. It's nothing special. But it fit him so well, and it looked so good. And his was in like a cream color, and it just looked really like dressy. It was the perfect everyday sweater. Like, it looked dressy enough to wear to work, or wear to like a restaurant, but it was also casual enough to wear like to hang out at someone's house. Like, we were just friends. It wasn't like we were like at a restaurant or anything. We were just hanging out at my house. And he just looked like kind of polished for like a hangout, but not so polished that it was like weird. It had like a casual oversized fit, but nothing too oversized, and it wasn't too slim to the point where it looked a little bit like formal. So I wanted to find a pattern that was close to that, and I got this one from Maxim Cyr, and that is the single malt sweater. The only thing that I want to mention is that I changed it from a single fold collar to a double fold collar, and in the pattern he accounts for short rows to raise the back of the neck. And when I did that, I didn't realize that it happens like there was no other way for me. I couldn't figure out how to do this without. But basically what I did was, oh, and my sweater got caught on this. I did the neckline. I doubled the length that I wanted. So let's say I wanted it 1.5 inches. I doubled it to 3 inches, and then I sewed it down, and then I proceeded with the short rows. And the short rows happen on the back, but they follow the shape of the neckline. So the neckline has a ribbing, or the neck hole has a ribbing. So you can see this row of stitches here where I've attached the top and the bottom, you know, column of stitches from the back. Like, is it obvious? Yes. Is his hair short? Yeah. So you're definitely going to see it, but you know, it's not terrible. And I think my stitching is like relatively elastic. It looks good. You know, I think not having the double folded neckline, like, it looks fine in the product photos, but I do feel like with such a like heavy, substantial sweater, this is like an Aran weight sweater, like I would like it to have like a thicker neckline. So I just did the double neckline. You know, time will tell whether this adjustment bothers me or not, but that's the only change that I've made. The raglan is nice and wide. Like, I love this stitch definition. Super cute. And it's got this kind of textured fabric. I believe this is a moss stitch. If it's not a moss stitch, then it is a, what's the other one? Moss stitch? Seed stitch? I don't know which one. I think this is moss stitch as far as I am aware, but it's got this really nice texture. It's the only textured garment I've made so far. And so how you do this is you're like knit, purl, and then on the other one, you're just doing knits all the way around. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not like a huge fan of textured knits, but maybe I am. Like, maybe I don't like them in the moment, but in reality, I am looking forward to having a little bit of variation, because maybe knitting all stockinette is like better in theory than it is in practice. But I finally split for sleeves this weekend. So I think this was the last time I significantly knit on this. So this was all in one chunk. And then this has been the chunk this week. And this is a men's size 5 in the Maxim Cyr pattern. So it's quite a few stitches all the way across. And it should be oversized on my husband. He's also trying to bulk right now. He's trying to gain some muscle. And he's already changed shape in like the last month. So I'm happy that it's taking a while, and I'm happy that I sized up. They are knit on 5mm needles. This is Lion Brand local grown wool, which is my favorite. as I mentioned multiple times. I wish I had like an infinite amount of this yarn, but I know that if I had an infinite amount of this yarn, I would never try anything new. It's one of those like yarns that is so bouncy and so soft and so like wonderful. It's a great mix of rustic like woolly wool and soft commercial wool. It has like no itch whatsoever, but it is like substantial and hefty, and it's affordable, and it's thick, and it's nice and bouncy. I love the twist. I love everything about this. And I've knit quite a few projects in this so far, and I always get it for like $6-7 a ball. Like when I can get it relatively cheap, I'm happy to knit in this. So I think I have something like 10 balls for this project, and if there's extras, I will try to make him a matching hat or something. I think that would be really cute. And then there's one more project. Let me go grab that, and then I'll be right back. Okay, of the familiar projects, I have one last one, and I groaned because I'm sad about this. You may recognize my Alma mittens. These are obviously like well overdue, and part of not working on these is because like who wants to work on mittens when it is literally 77 degrees right now outside. It's almost hot, like dare I say. So I don't really want to work on mittens, but I did like push myself to do it. And in that desperate attempt to push myself to work on something, I made a grave error. So I finally cast on the second freaking mitten, the Alma mitten. The second one obviously went better than the first. I learned how to read the chart better so I don't have any mistakes on this thumb gusset as opposed to this one. So we've got like a slight difference here in, you know, achievement. However, when I split for front and back, I think I messed up, and I am very acutely aware that I have miscounted one of my stitches. I don't know what I did wrong, but one of these is incorrect. So I will have to go back, pull everything out, and start over. Not like start over, but like start over from where you split for the thumb, where you like hold onto the thumb gusset and you do the front and back. And I'm like really not in the mood to do that. Like, but I'll show you where I am progress-wise, because it is pretty exciting. So that is how much of the glove that I have. And it looks good. Like, okay, I am excited. Like, I definitely think for next winter, and the vision is still there to have a set of these and then to have like a hat that is the same like slime green color. I think it'll be amazing, but it's amazing for like next winter because I don't want to do this right now. I could see myself becoming a mitten knitter in the future. I think mittens are super cute, very satisfying. I think mittens are like slightly more cute than socks because at least people can see your mittens. And they're kind of quaint. They're like a quaint knitted object, right? Like socks are obviously also quaint, but I think there's something about a mitten that is like of the old world. It's very cute. I'm like very excited to have these. I just don't want to do them now. But I just also feel like if I wait too long, I'm never going to work on them again, and I know that's the kind of person that I am, so I need to bring her up, because if I don't bring it up, then again, remember, I'll forget. And then I have one cast on, because I'm insufferable and I cannot help myself, but I started casting on for the Sevilla blouse, which is like maybe a strange choice, because what is the reason for making like a fluffy blouse in the spring/summer, but really what it is I wanted a stockinette project. I wanted it to be super duper easy, and I wanted it to use up some of my stash yarn. So I have this beautiful lilac that I love. Like, look at this with my hair and my skin and my like lipstick. Can you even? So I love this color. This is from Drops. I remember that Knitting for Olive had this purple called Unicorn Purple, and everyone was like freaking out about Unicorn Purple when it came out, but it's a lot less saturated than I want it to be, right? Like, I think Unicorn Purple in my head, I have a vision of what I think Unicorn Purple is going to be, and then I see it in real life and it's not actually that intense. But this one is actually that intense. I don't know the color name off the top of my head, but when you go onto the Drops site, you'll really only see one purple that looks this bright. And yeah, it's not at all the recommended yarn, so I have no clue how it's going to look. I did not swatch at all. I'm knitting this in a size small on 5mm needles as recommended. And we'll see. I'm really hoping this is kind of like an easy breezy springtime blouse top, like a sweater that I can wear at the office when it's cold, like anything under 75 degrees. I'm hoping I can wear this for. It is alpaca silk, so it's going to, you know, retain a lot of heat. But I also think because it's so loose, it should be just like easy breezy comfy. And I probably would just wear it with like, you know, like a sports bra like this underneath. And, you know, I don't mind that it's sheer. Like, I think this would be fine. So yeah, this is my current project. I'm pretty pleased with it. I have 6 balls of Drops Melody to allot to this project, and it will work down my stash quantities for the month if I finish this, or for the quarter if I finish this. And, you know, Is this yarn super easy to knit with? No, it does kind of feel a little bit like working with boucle yarn, which it does that thing where because the hairs are so like long and they make loops, sometimes you're knitting into something that you think is the string itself or the thread itself, but it's actually like a tangle of fiber, and so you can easily make false stitches. So I do have to occasionally actually like check my stitch count, even though it's supposed to be like an easy stuff in a project, and it is hard to do so because it's so fluffy that you can't really read your stitches super duper easily. So that is like the one frustrating thing I want to say about this project, but so far I literally started this today, so I have no clue. This is supposed to be a back panel. This looks huge for a back panel. I'm a little bit worried, but you know, Petite Knit has never actually done me wrong, so we'll see. So that is it. Let's talk acquisitions. I have a lot of brand new black yarn that I purchased from Drops. They were doing some crazy sale, so I got basically 4 garments worth of yarn for maybe more. Like, I bought 4 types of yarn. I think in reality I could probably get like 5 or 6 things out of it, but they're all pretty much shades of black, and they're not super exciting, but I got all of it for like under $100. So we got Bombulin from Drops. I got 15 balls of that. That is equal to around 1,400 yards. So I can probably make like 1 nice sweater or 2 smaller tops. I also got 10 balls of Drops Bell, also in black, which leads to 1,300 yards, give or take. I also got 5 balls of the Drops Cotton Merino. Jack in the Attic talks about this yarn as like one of her favorite yarns, and so I got like the dark heather gray black heather green black color, and I'm really excited about that one because not only is it a Jack in the Attic color, it is a Jack in the Attic yarn. I know she uses it all the time, and so I figured, like, why not try to choose something slightly interesting? I love black and I wear black. I don't like buying black yarn. It feels so wasteful in a way. So anytime there's like an off black or like a slightly colored black, I go for that one because like maybe there's like a touch of character that I can find, you know, in the way that you've like spun the fiber or like dyed the yarn or something like that. Like if there's a teensy bit of something that I can hold on to that distinguishes it from just like a flat commercial black dyed yarn, I will try to do that. But you know, sometimes the basic is good too. And then the last thing I purchased was Cascade 220, which is maybe like not a super climate appropriate thing to buy right now, but it was on crazy sale. So I bought it for like $5 a ball, and I bought 5 balls, and with the yardage that they've listed, that should be around 1,100 yards. So for long sleeve garments, I think I have enough for like, you know, at least 3 full long sleeve garments, something like this. Maybe like I definitely want to make a ranunculus. I'm not sure if I want to do the ranunculus in the Bell or the Cascade, but I do want to make like a black lace sweater. And for the cotton merino, I was thinking of doing something like a lacy top, like a tank top that I could wear like a cardigan over. There's like very little desire that I have to make summer tank tops that are to be worn unlayered, just because like in the office, I don't think I really want to be wearing sleeveless tops. And then when I'm out and about, I'm never really like outdoors for long enough that I want a sleeveless top that is also dressy. Like maybe there might be like changes in my lifestyle, but like generally either like it's a weekend and it's casual and I don't need to be wearing like a nice knitted sweater top, or we're indoors and it's climate controlled and then I can wear like, you know, some kind of shrug or lace or something on top. But I think it'd be nice to finally have some tiptoeing into summer garments. I don't necessarily know what those summer garments are going to be, but I am excited to knit through the summer. So last summer, my first summer of knitting, I hit a roadblock in one of my projects that was more complicated than I, you know, could do, which is fine and understandable because it was a gift knit and I was more concerned about what the person wanted than like what I could actually handle. And in that pursuit, I just like never finished the project and I've never given them a gift. So it's like actually worse to do that for people than to like just admit that you're incapable. But because that setback was like so scary for me, I just like literally didn't knit all summer. And this year I'm feeling like I'm willing to try something new. I want to make like an Audrey top, which is just like a little tank top halter thing from Petite Knit. I'm gonna like look around and see if there are free patterns. I know there's one lady who basically like decommissioned her store and made everything free. So I might take a look at, I think her name is Andrea. I might take a look at her patterns to see if there's anything that I want. And I also just want some practical layering pieces for my everyday wardrobe, because right now a lot of my knitted stuff is just like really heavy and like not super practical for spring, summer weather. So that is it. Do I have any like concrete plans or goals? Like generally, yeah, start the spring knitting, finish my old knitting, like be a little bit more practical with my goals, and hopefully like get back on track, like uploading and figuring out like my video routine, because it's good for my mental health too. Like it's good for me to know like what I have going on the needles and like what I'm working towards, etc., etc. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I don't have anything else for you today. Thank you just for being here and hanging out, and I will see you on the next one. Mwah!